We are here at Curator's Voice Art Projects in the heart of Wynwood, Miami, and we are interviewing here at Boryana Korcheva at the show Interrogations. And Boryana, she is one of my artists participating in the show that is being presented in March 2014. And I want just to ask you to talk about your biography. Where were you born? Where do you study?
Well, I was born in Bulgaria, and I'm probably the only Bulgarian you have in the gallery right now, right here.
It's true.
I grew up in Bulgaria in the 60s and 70s and 80s, which was a communist country at that time. So I can say that I've grown up and I formed under a different social order, that is communism. Then things changed and I moved to the Middle East. That has to do with my education. I was educated in Arabic studies, so I worked as a translator. So I moved to the Middle East where I spent 17 years. I've always wanted to be an artist as a child. However, circumstances dictated that I had to go into a different line. And I'm very, very fortunate that at this stage of my life, I call it one life cycle later, I could return to my passion and dedicate myself permanently to art. Presently, I live in the Bahamas and I work there. I do my art there. And I'm very fortunate to be able to exhibit in Miami in the center of the action, Wynwood and Curator's Voice Art Project, being one of your artists.
Very interesting. Boryana has a set of paintings in here that I chose as a curator due to their quality and their high expression concept. And she is going to be talking about her work, and it's going to be very brilliant, your explanation. Thank you very much, Boryana. Now all the works with you and the public. Thank you.
The piece behind me is titled Captivity. It has to do with the deepest frustration of my adolescence growing up in a totalitarian and closed-up country. It was a time when young people were traveling around the world with their backpacks, and we were there closed behind the Iron Curtain, feeling really smothered and really confined. If you see, this is a piece that expresses very strong passion of rage and anger and angst. I have also used visual language to express that. It looks like something fossilized and carved out of rock and surrounded, this figure is surrounded by a void of emptiness. The pieces that you see behind me are part from my abduction series. The idea for that series came from really the immediate environment that I live in. I live in the Bahamas. It's a beautiful place. It's paradise. And when you live in paradise, you have two options really as an artist. One of them is to paint the world in its beauty as it is all around you. The sunsets, the beautiful people, the blue ocean. The other, though, is to try to look at the world through the eyes of God. And this is what I have tried to do. I abduct the viewer to somewhere up in space and force him to look at the planet. At one moment, it is full of life, all colorful, and next moment, the next frame, just a blink in God's eye, it can turn into dust, into black and white, dust, rock, death. The idea of this series is that we do not pay attention to the big picture. And while we are engulfed in our squabbles and fights and petty interpersonal problems, we may lose the beautiful planet that we live on. The diptych behind me is titled Perpetuum mobile, perpetual motion. And if you look at the first piece here, you see a sphere, which is the absolute self-contained shape. The sphere is made up of entangled curves of what appear to be chromium-covered surfaces. And the curves in their variety and entanglement appear as if constantly moving. In the next piece, what we see is another sphere of something that looks like dust, like a cosmic dust. So the idea here is that the movement within continues also as a movement in time, as a movement in space. However, what used to be an entity can turn into simply dust and just energy. The symbolism of this painting is again related to our thinking as humanity, as a group of people, which is focused within our immediate lives, and at the same time we forget the big picture, and we forget that as a planet, as a human civilization, we are just a drop of dust in the universe. I'm seeking to create images which are imposing, imperative, even aggressive. This is not an invitation to quiet contemplation. It's an abduction to a place where the only option is to face reality. It's the point in space and time where we cannot look the other way, as there is no other way to look at.